In order to provide motivation for one to work, Solomon describes the conditions of the sluggard so that we might avoid being like this person. He says that the soul of the sluggard craves and gets nothing, but the soul of the diligent is made fat, Proverbs 13 and verse 4. Everyone has desires they wish to be fulfilled, from the basic necessities of life, such as the desire for food, clothing, and shelter, to various comforts and luxuries of life. And one who is diligent has a way of obtaining those things that he desires: work. But the sluggard, because he is not willing to work, craves and gets nothing. Solomon later says that the desire of the sluggard puts him to death, for his hands refuse to work. All day long he is craving, while the righteous gives and does not hold back, Proverbs 21, verses 25 and 26. The righteous man is able to be generous because of the reward he receives from his diligent labor. The sluggard, because of his refusal to work, will not only have to live without certain things, but his laziness actually helps bring destruction upon himself. Solomon says that a lazy man does not roast his prey, but the precious possession of a man is diligence, Proverbs 12 and verse 27. Without roasting his prey, the effort that was put forth in hunting it was useless. It does no good to begin work and then not finish that work. Diligence here is called a precious possession because it enables one to finish the work that he starts so that he might enjoy the fruits of his labor. The sluggard buries his hand in the dish, for he is weary of bringing it up to his mouth again, Proverbs 26 and verse 15. This verse is nearly identical to one found a few chapters earlier in Proverbs 19 and verse 24. It describes the utterly miserable state of the sluggard. Even though he may be so close to completing what would seem like the most basic of all tasks, that of feeding himself, he does not even have the will to bring his hand up to his mouth. This ought to serve as a warning of the destruction and progressive effects of laziness. When one gives himself over to laziness, difficult tasks become impossible. Reasonable tasks become an excessive burden. And easy tasks even prove to be more than one can willfully manage. And as the door turns on its hinges, so does the sluggard on his bed, Proverbs 26 and verse 14. Though a door may have movement in opening and closing, because it remains on its hinges, it will never really go anywhere. Solomon says the same is true with the sluggard in his bed. Though he may toss and turn, as long as he remains in his bed, he will never go anywhere, will never accomplish anything, thus bringing about his own destruction. As Solomon has said earlier, laziness casts into a deep sleep, and an idle man will suffer hunger, Proverbs 19 and verse 15. Then he states in Proverbs 26 and verse 13, the sluggard says, there is a lion in the road. A lion is in the open square. This verse is simply about one making excuses in an attempt to justify their laziness. A similar passage reads, the sluggard says, there is a lion outside. I will be killed in the streets, Proverbs 22 and verse 13. The sluggard uses the presence of a dangerous lion outside to justify his remaining at home in bed, not taking care of himself, and all the while thinking that he is wiser than 7 men who can give a discreet answer, Proverbs 26:16. Yet the sluggard is not wise for refusing to go out and work to provide for himself, even with a lion outside. If there was an actual lion outside, the sluggard could have done one of two things, either kill the lion or avoid the lion. But he refused to do either one, and too often people tend to make excuses to try and justify their laziness rather than simply deal with the problems and the obstacles in front of them. The sluggard is the one who makes excuses, but the wise man will find a way to work around any obstacle that presents itself. Friends, we thank you for joining us for our program today. We hope that you have a wonderful day and that God blesses you with a great weekend ahead.